I'm here with Leesa Eichberger from RingCentral. We're going to be talking about some of the big industry trends, challenges, and what's top of mind for you as a senior leader in the industry. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Let's dive right in.
Sure.
One of the topics we've been talking about with our community this week is CMO tenure.
Yep.
New numbers have come out recently at its lowest point in maybe a decade, and that tenure is getting smaller and smaller. What is, in your mind, maybe at the root of this issue, and how can we try to set CMOs up for more success?
Yeah, I think it's so complex because CMOs are expected to be experts and able to do everything. And I think the role of the CMO has really dramatically shifted over the past 10, 15 years, where it used to be kind of traditional marketing. You had very much clear ideas of what you needed to do, and your relationship with the rest of the organization was maybe less nuanced. Today's CMO is expected to be everything from a finance person to a tech person to a creative, brilliant marketer who's got big, expansive ideas, managing a team, and all of those different points create lots of points for either failure or disappointment. And it's also, I think, very easy in most businesses to blame marketing if something goes wrong, which, if everything goes great, it was sales or product. And if everything goes sideways, marketing didn't do their job well enough. So I think that's the expectations of what a CMO is supposed to do have shifted. And I think it's up to CMOs to really think about outlining what we can do and what we can't do, and be real clear with our leadership on what our role is. And that's hard because they're big shoes.
Absolutely. But so part of that, let's build on that for a second. I mean, arguably one of the biggest jobs of the CMO and of senior marketing leaders is to build that team. Mm-hmm. And these days, the landscape that we operate in is more complicated, more mm-hmm. crowded by the day, new technologies to account for, right. Specialties, disciplines, apps, platforms. How do you, as a marketing leader, think about building out that organization and making sure that you have the right people and the right talent all accounted for?
Yeah, there was a book I read years and years ago, and I'm unfortunately I don't remember the author's name, but it's called Good to Great. I think a lot of people read it back. Gosh, I don't even know what year it was written, but it had an expression in it about getting the right people on the bus. And I think that's one of the things that's probably most important, is getting really good all-around athletes who are able to flex and move within the organization. Obviously, you need people with very specific skill sets for certain technical jobs, but a strong player can shift and take on other roles. So I think it's having enough technical expertise, the ability to then continue to educate and grow your team, and belonging to different organizations where you can get, Brand Innovators is a great example. It's a great way to get new information, talk to peers, learn things you didn't necessarily know. So keep people's skill set growing, and then also have people who just have the horsepower to take on different opportunities. But it's hard. Even in the last, I was in a roundtable today. We were talking 10 years ago, we didn't have to think about Facebook and Instagram and social media as so much of a marketing play. And now that's the bulk of some of our spends. And just continually keeping on top of new trends is hard. And I think that requires bringing in good talent. And sometimes I think it helps to bring in agency support, so that, I am always concerned with having churn on my team. Some of these things are changing so fast that sometimes it's nice to have just fresh blood coming in who's got exposure to new ideas, and they can help educate the team and lead kind of some fresh thinking. But it still has to come from a strong, nimble team.
And I think to your point earlier, it's interesting. Sometimes the pendulum swings back and forth between specialists, between generalists, and having people right. who can be strong team players and move into different roles and grow and evolve and do new things mm-hmm. as the situation calls for it. That's great. All right. So last thing I'll ask you about, something again we talk about with our community, is this idea of cultural relevance and the role a brand plays in culture. Is it important for brands to be in culture, and what does that necessarily mean? So I'd love to hear your thoughts on, what that looks like for you.
Yeah, I think it varies from company to company and brand to brand and industry to industry. Right now I'm in a B2B organization where we're selling unified communications as a service. Are we going to be part of the cultural zeitgeist? Not necessarily. In other cases, I came from Farmers Insurance. We were in, I'm not going to say it was a commodity. I mean, that there are differences between the insurance carriers, but because it is commoditized enough, having some brand cultural relevance and having people recognize your brand as something fun or that gives them an emotional response really was critical to us standing out. And I think all brands need to have some sort of emotion tied to them, because all decision making is based on emotion. Even it's rational, but there is an emotional connection. And brand love, I think, matters for B2B, B2C, B2B2C, whatever you want to talk about. So playing in the culture is important, and it varies, I think, on what you're selling and to who.
Absolutely. All right, so let's move into the lightning round now. So we're going to have just two questions.
Sure.
But I'd love to get your thoughts. It's 2023 now. We're days removed from our New Year's parties and all of that, still recovering maybe. But there's a lot of talk about both the opportunities and trends that kind of we're seeing in this industry and what opportunities they might afford, but also on the flip side, the challenges. Mm-hmm. Based on what's keeping you up at night or what the industry should be addressing as a whole. So I'd love your take on what challenges you may be thinking about, but also what trends you're excited for.
So I think the challenges to start with the hard one is fragmentation, right? Like how do you make the decision on where to place your dollars and place your bets? And we all have finite resources, no matter how big a brand you are. You need to test into things. You need multivariate testing. You need multimedia mix models. Are you looking at first touch attribution, multiple touch attribution? I think there are a lot of opportunities of ways to decide where the right places are to be. But fragmentation to me is one of the things I worry about, getting enough breadth and depth in particular areas that you get the exposure you need, but not missing out on new trends. So I think that's one of the challenges. The things I'm excited about are probably tied to fragmentation, right? It's all these new venues, these new ways of doing things. I mean, 5 years ago, I would have never thought influencer marketing was going to be what it is now. It's like that range of celebrity endorsement into influencer and micro-influencer it's such just a brave new world, and it's exciting and scary because what are the right metrics to be tracking? What's the right ROI? But I think there's so much new, exciting, different digital means of communicating that we didn't used to have that excites me and scares me at the same time.
This has been great. Thank you so much for being here and with sitting down with me and sharing with our community. It's been a pleasure having you.
Yeah, thank you.
Of course. I hope to have you again soon.
Sure.